Peace and blessings. Welcome back. This is Kevin Huckabee with What the Huck Presents. And I'm back with a new episode of I Think My Neighbor is a Supervillain. Now, if you've missed the first two episodes, we're introduced to Dante Miller, a neurology major attending UT Austin, who's been prompted by his therapist to write in a journal about the events that happened during his summer break after completing his sophomore year at UT Austin. During that summer break, on the second week of it, a new neighbor moves in next door to Dante and his mother, and Dante is suspicious of this guy off the rip. We find out his name is Professor Gray, or Mr. Gray, if you will, and all of a sudden, things become suspicious to Dante when he sees and meets this guy. Next thing you know, neurology experts and neurology professors are coming up missing, and Dante believes Mr. Gray has something to do with it. Now, in the last episode, while with his best friend Keith, they're discussing what's going on at a Best Burger restaurant when they're interrupted by someone who says that he can help them, claiming he is a superhero. This is where we pick up episode 3 of I Think My Neighbor is a Supervillain, Lose a Hero. Let's go.
Excuse me, gentlemen, but I couldn't help but overhear your conversation. And it sounds like you guys are looking for a superhero. Well, guys, look no further. You got one.
So me and Keith look at each other and our eyes light up. Looking at him, he's not what I expect in a superhero because he kind of reminds me of a scruffy looking surfer dude. He has shoulder length blonde hair, a scruffy looking 5 o'clock shadow, and he's wearing a black t-shirt with the capital letters FM in bold white letters, black cargo shorts with black and white checkered Vans shoes. I ask him, "You're a superhero? Like, for real?" He closes his eyes, tilting his head back with a smile, and says,
I sure am.
I look at Keith like, who is this guy? And Keith asks him, so, like, what's your name?
Parker Rooks.
Wait. That's your superhero name? The quote unquote hero stops smiling and says,
Oh, no, man. My superhero name is Fear Man.
He says, making a gesture with his hand to emphasize Fear Man. So Keith and I are looking at each other trying to jog our memories, and I ask Keith, bro, you ever heard of him? Keith now looks at Fear Man again, shaking his head no, and then quickly looks back at me and says, can't say that I have.
Look, I get it. You may not have heard of me yet, but I can help you investigate your mom's neighbor.
He's my neighbor too.
I mean, I heard the conversation, and it sounds like it's your mom's house. So technically, it's her neighbor.
Keith leans back in his seat with the palms of his hands up in a shrug and says, CD, I told you the same thing. Mr. Gray is technically your mom's neighbor. Come on, you guys. You know what I mean. And besides, that's not important right now. But what is important, though, Fear Man, is what are your powers? Keith jumps in with, yeah, dude, what can you do? Wait, let me guess. With a name like Fear Man, you probably can make people's greatest fears come to life.
Whoa, that's pretty cool, but no.
I say, I got it. You can make people be consumed with thoughts of what they fear.
Wow, man, that's cool too. But, no.
Okay, I got it, says an excited Keith. Then he suggests you can absorb fear from people and like get stronger from it. Fearman is now slowly shaking his head yes, with a look on his face like he's impressed with us or something. Then he says,
That's not my power either. But wow, are you guys imaginative?
Now me and Keith look at each other like, what the freak, dude? And I ask, okay, so what do you do? Fearman squints his eyes and leans towards our table like he's about to drop something big on us and says,
So, I'm sure you guys know about the fight or flight response, right?
He asks, with me and Keith both shaking our heads yes in a fast manner like a couple of overeager kids. He continues saying,
That's what my powers are tied to.
Keith asks again, but in a very unsure tone, So, what can you do?
Oh, that's easy. Once my fight or flight response kicks in, I either get super strong for the fight part of the response, or I can fly for the flight part,
says Fearman, now looking up in the air with a proud smile and both his fists on his waist in a victory pose like some kind of Superman or something. Me and Keith look at each other like, you gotta be kidding. I then turn back to Fearman and ask, are you telling us that your powers only work when you're scared?
Yeah, dude. That's why I named myself Fear Man. Genius, right?
I look at Keith with a face that says, I'm about to blow my top. And him, being my best friend, knows the face and jumps in asking, but can you control it? Can you decide which power you have at a time? Or can you have both at the same time?
Well, no. Since the fight or flight response is naturally automatic, I can't pick and choose which power I'll get. Plus, so far as I know, I can only use one at a time.
So it really depends on the situation and if you're scared? Asks Keith in a tone of disbelief. Meanwhile, if looks could kill, Fearman would no longer be with us because I'm staring a hole in his face right now. Keith, feeling the tension building from me, says, maybe we give him a chance, D, and see what he can do. He might be able to help. I look at Keith with a grimace and slowly turn my head to look back at Fearman, and I just can't hold it any more and explode with 9. We need a real superhero and not a loser hero. Keith, with a shocked face, looks at me and then at a slightly crushed looking Fearman and says to me, come on, D, you're being kind of harsh, man. And what is and why did you say 9? Look, I said no, Keith. He's not helping us. Dude, I could have sworn you said 9. No, I didn't. I said no.
I heard 9 too, and that's no in German, but I get it,
says a defeated sounding Fearman. I explode again with, I didn't say not. You know what? Forget it. I'm done. Keith, I'll be in the car. So I storm out of Best Burger, heading to my car, leaving a shocked looking Keith behind, who says to a disappointed looking Fearman, hey man, I apologize, dude. He's just putting stress on himself. He's normally not like that.
It's cool, bro. Really wish I could help, 'cause I'm trying to join the Justice Men, you know?
Right. Well, keep trying, dude. Maybe you will one day. And hey, let's go ahead and exchange numbers. Maybe things will change with D. So Keith exchanges phone numbers with Fearman and catches up to me at my car. When he gets in, he says, D, what's up with you, man? I know I said you were tripping, but you're tripping now, bro. Ever since dude moved next door, you've been acting a little different. Wouldn't you be acting different if you thought your neighbor was a supervillain? But Dante, you don't know for sure if Mr. Gray is a supervillain. Yeah, he's a little weird, but that doesn't make him a supervillain. Besides, what kind of proof do you have? What about what we talked about earlier? You know, about the neurology professors and neurologists that have been coming up missing? Okay, but how can you link that to Mr. Gray? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. I say, looking intensely at the road and tightly gripping my steering wheel. The conversation stops right there, with nothing else said until we get back to my house. It's now starting to get dark, and as I get out of the car and head inside my house, Keith is standing at the driver's side of his car, and before he gets in to leave, asks, "What you about to get into now?" Still a little irritated, I turn to Keith and say, "I don't know. Guess I'll go jogging." Keith, with a confused look, asks, "At nighttime?" Dude, since when have you jogged at night and smoked German? Bro, I don't know. Maybe I started jogging while I was on campus. All I know right now is I just need to clear my head. Okay, man. I'm just a little worried about you. I'll holler at you later. Sheesh, Keith says defensively. He then gets into his car and heads home. All right, so now I'm starting a new entry in this journal my therapist has me writing. Okay, where do I pick up at? Oh, yeah. So after the whole Best Burger Fearman thing, a couple of days have gone by. As I'm heading to the kitchen to grab a bottle of water, I pass by the living room where my mom is watching the evening news. On the news is a report about Captain Omega with a reporter live on the scene.
Yes, Clarice, that's right. I'm live on the scene where Captain Omega just fought and stopped the Dirt Devil from robbing a bank.
Sean, I'm also told that there were no casualties.
That's right, Clarice. From one of the witnesses I talked to, that fight was over fairly quickly. Here's the witness. Yeah, first of all, my name is Purvis Walker. And I came here to this bank to handle some business. And then from what I saw, the dirt guy came in pushing folks around with his dirt powers, I guess that's what you call them, and making people choke and cough. And then some of that old dirt got on my dart uniform. And next thing I know, here is Captain Friggin' Omega. So what happened next? Well, Captain Omega took a big old breath of air and blew it at the dirt guy, blowing all the dirt in the bank and the dirt guy into one big old pile, and he couldn't even get back up no more. We're told, Clarice, that's when the authorities entered with a containment unit and secured Dirtman in it. I'm Sean Lab for...
That's when I muttered to myself, that's who I need right there. The reporter then segues into another story about the missing neurology professors and neuro experts.
Speaking of Captain Omega, he may be needed on the investigation into neurology experts who are missing, as a local neurology professor from the University of Texas here in Dallas has now been added to the growing list.
I ask out loud to myself, it's happening here now? Prompting my mother to turn around on the couch she's sitting on to ask, did you hear that, Dante? Yeah, Mom, and I bet I know who's behind it, I say, now continuing on to the kitchen for my bottled water. I grab the water, and as I'm walking fast back past the living room to hit the stairs, my mom tries to ask, who do you think it is? But I don't hear the rest of the question as I'm running up the stairs to grab my phone and face dial Keith. He answers with, hey, what up, Anger Man? Haven't talked to you in a couple of days. And who is Anger Man supposed to be?
I'm just saying. We met Fear Man, and then you turned into Anger Man.
Keith says with a chuckle. I say, oh, ho, ho, so funny. I forgot to laugh. Look, man, two things. One, my bad for being snappy the other day. And two, did you hear the latest news about the missing neurology experts?
Nah, man, I've been busy with the store and inventory. Well, what happened now?
I just saw a report on the news that said that it's happening here now. A neurology professor from UTD is missing.
And let me guess, you think the Mr. Gray guy has something to do with it, right?
You guessed it. Keith takes a deep breath and asks,
Okay. Dante, why do you think that now?
Bro, stop treating me like I'm a stark raving lunatic. I've been watching that guy's house these past couple of days.
And
And he's been receiving a lot of deliveries that come in big, unmarked boxes. In fact, I almost hit you up yesterday because 2 big coffin-sized boxes came in for him.
I mean, like I've said before, the guy is a little weird, but there's no law against receiving big deliveries, D.
You're right, Kay. But it sure is coincidental that he gets these weird packages and a local neurology professor comes up missing. Besides, I told you the lights flash on and off, and I hear weird electronic sounds coming from the house at like midnight. That's still happening.
D, I don't know what to tell you or what's up.
Well, I know what's up, and I also know I need to get in that house to investigate and be sure. All right, and there you have it. Episode 3 of I Think My Neighbor is a Supervillain, Loser Hero. Speaking of which, what did you think about Fear Man? And like Keith said, Dante is tripping. What's up with him? He talking about breaking into old boy's house. Come on back for the next episode of I Think My Neighbor is a Supervillain, episode 4. Let's do it. I'm Kevin Huckabee for What the Huck Presents. Peace and blessings.